Considering a move to Central Florida and trying to figure out if Melbourne or Orlando is right for you, today we're going to do a head-to-head comparison of these two Central Florida hotspots. We're going to get right into lifestyle, real estate, hot up-and-coming developments, and what really draws people in.
Yeah, it's chill beaches versus city thrills, two completely different worlds. We're breaking it down right now. Let's get into it.
What's up, guys? We are Team Real Local, your go-to real estate crew here on the Space Coast and all of Central Florida. And today, it is all about Melbourne's coastal vibes, rocket launches, and living that good life.
And Orlando's big energy and nonstop action.
That's right. We're going to be covering 4 big topics and comparing how Melbourne and Orlando stack up in each category to help you decide which one might be best for you. If you're considering a move here, our team specializes in new construction and relocation to Florida, and we would love the opportunity to connect with you and see how we can help. I've got our contact information right here. We've also got some good resources for you down in the description of this video that'll help kickstart your move.
Let's jump in. First up, what's the vibe like?
All right, so vibe. Let's kick it off and go over Melbourne first. So I moved over to the Space Coast area from Orlando probably, 8 or 9 years ago. And I absolutely love the vibe here. Orlando's got a lot to offer, but for me, my lifestyle, my family, like this area, Melbourne, it's more our speed. It's much more overall. It's laid back. It's got more of a small town feel. Easy access to beaches, tons of like outdoor activities, paddleboarding on the river, boating, fishing, you name it. Like that's our vibe. The nightlife over here, I would say, depending on who you ask, really lax compared to Orlando, and you can kind of give us some feedback on that Orlando nightlife. But you go to dinner here, and by 8, 9 o'clock, a lot of the restaurants are emptying out, and there's a lot of bars and everything. It's midnight, a lot of places are shutting down, and it's just not the same nightlife as Orlando, which for me and my family, that's perfect. That's what we wanted. We wanted to escape the hustle and bustle, have a more laid back life. As far as the food scene goes, I've got feedback from a lot of people that they think the food scene in Melbourne isn't good. I will say that Orlando has way more options. You can tell us about some of your favorite hotspots. But for me, the food scene here is fine. There's tons of local moms and pops, independents, great places for fish tacos, coconut shrimp, that kind of thing. I wish there were some more places that had direct waterfront dining. So if you're an entrepreneur, maybe you guys can hook us up there and give us some more options. And, essentially the population in Brevard County, it's about 670,000 people, which is kind of a fraction of what Orlando's at. So if you're looking for something that's less crowded, maybe there's not as much to do, but more outdoor activities, this might be your spot. So Orlando, what's the vibe like in Orlando compared to Brevard County?
Orlando, think fast-paced with slow-moving traffic. Plenty of urban vibes. You have theme parks, the outlets for shopping, and so many dining options, you'll go broke trying them all.
All right, well, what about, let's talk about Lake Nona. I know Lake Nona is kind of like your spot. It's one of the biggest master plan communities in all of Central Florida. It's really hot. We've actually got some content coming up. We're gonna cover Lake Nona, kind of give it a comparison to Vieira here in Melbourne, but Lake Nona specifically, let's talk about that.
So I live in Lake Nona, right? Best place there is its little downtown district, if you will. Think Boxy Park, right? You have chroma, drinks, little finger foods, if you will. Before it melts, so you got ice cream, Park Pizza and Brewing Company. So if you're into that, like beer and pizza or pasta and pizza. And then my favorite, Turkish, Bosphorus. It's phenomenal.
So one of my favorite things about Park Place too, whenever we're over there and we go there, is I try to eat grain free. They go out of their way and they'll make a pizza in a cast iron skillet, no crust. It's perfect, but point is, it's really accommodating. It's a cool spot, good vibe, right there in Lake Nona, Medical City area. Definitely worth checking out. So earlier I mentioned Melbourne has about 670,000 people. What are we looking like in Orlando?
Orlando's looking more like 1.5 mil just in Orange County. This doesn't even include the greater Orlando area. So
to give you guys some context, Orlando is located in Orange County, but the greater Orlando area is made up of Seminole County, Orange County, Osceola, Polk, even Lake County. So 1.5 million just in Orange County alone. So to give you an idea of population, it's a big difference. So population, obviously Orlando has way more people than Melbourne does, but it comes with its perks, I'll be honest. So if you're like me and you don't like crowds, Melbourne's a place to be. But moving to Melbourne from Orlando took one big adjustment for me, and that was Amazon Prime. Orlando has a Amazon Prime hub in it.
Right.
And how often do you order same day delivery from Amazon Prime?
Dude, sometimes I order in the morning and get it before the evening.
So to me, this was a normal thing. I was used to same day delivery from Amazon Prime. If it was 1 day delivery, it was guaranteed to show up the next day before 12. Well, you don't have same day delivery in Melbourne. And if it says 1 day delivery, I would say there's maybe a 75% chance it'll get there in 1 day. Realistically, it'll probably show up after 5 p.m. and there's a lot of times it gets delayed. So if that is a big deal to you, which wasn't even something I considered, it's a big adjustment. And some of the same conveniences that I was used to having in Orlando, you don't have them here. You know, having a Wawa on every corner or a Chipotle on every corner was just something I was used to. So if you were hungry, you knew you could just swing into Chipotle and get a bowl to go pretty quickly. And then moving over here, that wasn't the case. Now we are starting to see them pop up. When I first moved over here, there wasn't a Chick-fil-A for like 30 minutes in where I lived. That's changed as well. So there is a lot of growth coming to Melbourne. The population here is growing. The traffic in Melbourne has gotten worse as well. Orlando has done some good things to mitigate with I-4.
I don't know if worse is. Compared to Orlando, it's a breeze.
It is. But that being said, it's the population, I think, bottom line, is growing in Orlando. It's growing in Melbourne. So we're going to have growing pains in both places.
Right.
So real estate, let's kick it off with Melbourne. For 2025, right now, our median sale price in Melbourne is like 360 grand. Some of the popular areas where we're seeing the best deals, number one on the list is going to be Palm Bay right now in the Melbourne area. I mean, hands down, Palm Bay has the best deals, especially when we're looking at new construction. I mean, you can get some insane incentives right now. Interest rates that are below 4% for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I mean, we're seeing rates at 3.99, 4.5%, 4.99%. And a lot of these homes are still under $400,000. So it's extremely affordable. There's a lot of development that's coming to that area. So I think the upside's really high. So I would say number one on my list for deals in the Melbourne area is going to be Palm Bay. Outside of that, popular areas are going to be Merritt Island, Vieira, general Melbourne area like Lake Washington, the South Beaches, Satellite, Indy Atlantic, Mel Beach, Indian Harbor Beach. And then another area that I think is up and coming is Titusville. So Titusville went through a boom back in the early space days. And then it kind of went through a big depression once the Apollo program shut down and then the shuttle program. And it still is in some areas kind of a relatively depressed area. But its proximity to the Cape with all the launches we're doing and all the people that have to commute to the Cape for work, there's really not a lot of good access because of where it's positioned on Merritt Island. You either have to go through Merritt Island or you got to go through Titusville. So South Titusville right now, we're starting to see more development. The home prices there are significantly more than Palm Bay right now. I'd say 30 to 50 grand for the same house, more in Titusville. But I do think Titusville is an area to watch. I think that we're going to continue to see more revitalization there. We've already seen it in their downtown area. There's a bunch of cool shops that have opened up. So that's something that's on the radar. But in general, Melbourne area is still considered a coastal steal for Florida coastal counties. How's Orlando stack up? Like, what are we looking at for median home price in Orlando for 2025?
So Orlando, the median home price right now is about $420,000 as of 2025.
All right, so popular areas in Orlando right now.
I would definitely say that Narcoossee Road corridor, you got areas like Lake Nona, St. Cloud, Neo City, and even Everby to keep an eye on.
So Narcoossee Road, to give context, runs from Orlando down through St. Cloud. So you're covering Orange County and Osceola County. You've got Lake Nona master plan community. You've got Everby, which is up and coming, which is kind of at the top end. You've got the Neo City, which is kind of at the bottom end, a little bit west. And then the one that we're really excited about, that we've talked a lot about, is Sunbridge.
Yeah.
Sunbridge is going to be huge.
Sunbridge is great. So think more of like city meets nature in harmony. So think trails, outdoor living, garden space. You have things like townhomes, you have single family homes. There's really something for the person that likes to be outside.
Yeah, and so Sunbridge is actually developed from the same developer that developed Lake Nona.
Right.
And they've taken a very natural approach, I guess. It's a community and I think the size is going to be, it's going to be massively bigger than Lake Nona.
Yeah.
But they've put a big emphasis on nature. So outdoor living, outdoor parks, open air. I think there's even open air like fitness facilities that are going to be there, the nature trails, the lakes. I think they have boat rentals now or kayak rentals. And it's in its very infant stages right now. And we're really excited about it. And to give some context, I mean, it's going to span on the north end, I think almost to 528 in Orlando, and all the way south into Osceola County, almost down to 192.
Yeah.
And from Narcoossee Road east, it's going to push almost to Brevard County. So right now, like, we're really targeting that community. I think that's going to be the community that finally connects Melbourne and Orlando and kind of brings some synergy in a place right there in the middle. So if you can't really decide where to live, or maybe you work on the coast and your spouse has to work in Orlando, that's going to be a great spot to kind of split the difference and have a good lifestyle. And I think it would give you a mix of both and a pretty reasonable commute to both areas.
And before we move on, I have to mention West Orlando, Horizon West.
Yeah, Horizon West, that's the other fastest growing master plan community in Orlando, on the west side. So it's going to be in like Winter Garden, right there by Claremont, kind of not in the Four Corners area, what they call, but if you like the parks, Disney and Universal, and you want to have easy access to the parks, Horizon West is really the place to be.
Doesn't get any better.
Yeah, we have clients that have purchased in Horizon West, and you can literally see Disney fireworks from your backyard.
Every night. So you've really got to like that.
So if you're a park goer, you want to be at Disney, you want that as part of your life, I mean, that's definitely an area that I would put on the map. All right, so let's recap it. I'm going to describe Melbourne as value-driven Florida beach life.
And Orlando's pricier, but you're paying for the action.
So, quick take.
Melbourne equals decompression. Orlando equals FOMO energy.
So let's talk more about new developments and new construction. I know we just kind of hit on this topic when we're going through the different areas, but I really want to focus on this as a prime topic. So right now, as I mentioned, like Palm Bay in the Melbourne area is probably your number one opportunity if you are looking for, let's say, 320,000 to 450. That's the place to be. The incentives right now are unbeatable, especially in that like Southeast Palm Bay quadrant, that I-95 and Southeast St. John's Heritage Parkway. Right now, it's kind of desolate, or it has been desolate for a long time. There's a big development down there, Waterstone, Cypress Bay West. We've actually done quite a bit of content on it because it's been so well received. We've had so many clients that have chose that was the right area for them. And we'll actually link those up down in the description. If you guys want to go check those out, make sure you hit the description here at the end of the video. But at that I-95 St. John's Heritage Parkway corridor, there's a huge development that's coming up. It was previously known as Emerald Lakes. Now it's been rebranded as Sunterra Lakes. It's changed hands a few times for developers. And there's also going to be Ashton Park, which is adjacent to that. And this area is supposed to rival Vieira with what they're building in regards to amenities, outdoor living, restaurants. So I'm really excited to see once that kicks off, where that price point is going to come in at. You know, if it's going to still be that Palm Bay price point that we're seeing now, or if they're going to try to bump it up towards what we're seeing in Vieira. And speaking of Vieira, that's like that's one of the other hot spots, the hottest spots here in Brevard County. It's one of the top 10 master plan communities in the United States. They've got paths that are integrated into the community for golf carts. So the kids literally drive their golf carts to school. There's tunnels that go under the roads. You can literally get almost anywhere in Vieira on the golf cart, and that's a huge part of life. Plus they've got the avenues there, the outdoor mall. But if we look at home prices in Vieira, a comparable home in Palm Bay, or as comparable as you're going to get from, say, a builder like maybe a Land C, $300,000 to $400,000 less in Palm Bay right now. So once, I don't know, this new development kicks off, I'm really curious to see what those values do. I still think Vieira is going to outpace it. I think what Palm Bay does and what Palm Bay brings is going to actually push Vieira values even higher at that point. And then, of course, the other areas I mentioned earlier are Titusville. There's some really interesting communities that are being developed there, great access to the Cape. I think that's something to keep an eye on. And then, of course, Merritt Island and Beachside. You can't beat that. Right now, North Merritt Island, I think we're going to see more new construction up there. We've got Miranda's got a few communities going on. That's a more like tier 2 to tier 3 builder, like more executive level home. What I think is interesting is right now there's really no retail or heavy commercial up on North Merritt Island. It's kind of a lot of old industrial, a lot of old agricultural properties. So the convenience to everyday amenities and shopping isn't there. So they're going to have to bring that in. It'll be interesting to see how that's handled, because right now the logistics from getting on and off of North Merritt Island is not good, especially with all the traffic from the Space Center. So I think in order for that to really be sustainable, they're going to have to add a lot of commercial there. They're going to have to add a lot of development. I know that's not going to be well received by a lot of the longtime local residents, but it kind of is what it is if it's going to be sustainable. But I do think that area is a big opportunity for developers.
Yeah, and like you said, it's necessary for that infrastructure to come into.
100%. All right, so let's look at Orlando and talk about new construction and development. I know we talked about Lake Nona earlier. I still think that's probably one of the hottest markets there. It's also one of the top master plan communities in the country. I don't know if it got the same rating that Viera got, but I mean, people move to Orlando for Lake Nona.
Right.
And Lake Nona proper has really gotten, I don't want to say maxed out with development wise, but they're definitely over the hump. They're towards the tail end of it. Lake Nona has acquired more land behind the airport there. They kind of expanded the master plan, which was interesting, but we're starting to see these little auxiliary developments pop up, like Nona Sound from Pulte. They've got a few different home collections, and it's right in the Lake Nona area, but it's not considered Lake Nona proper. So you don't have the same type of CDD fees, you don't have the same HOAs, but you're getting that Lake Nona product, the Lake Nona area, the Lake Nona schools, I'd say at a little bit better price and without the same type of fees.
So you definitely have Nona Sound. Like Joey mentioned, it's in the area, but not technically considered. Think townhomes, smaller footprint, single family homes, and they also have the estates.
Yeah, and that's going to be that higher level, more executive level home, and it's right there, Narcoossee Road and Boggy Creek in Orange County. So it's going to be Lake Nona schools, and you're right there in the mix of it. Right,
and also if we're talking about like what's in proximity, if you're not trying to be in Lake Nona, you also have Everby.
Yeah, Everby's a big one. It's actually a project we've been watching for a long time, and it's cool to see it finally kick off, because it's also in that like right off of 528, and it's in East Orlando. So same thing, if you're trying to be East Orlando, good proximity to commute 528, 417, wherever you need to go, that's a big one.
And that's expanding.
Yeah, that's expanding. We've actually got some content coming up on Everby as well, so make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you can get all the latest updates on these communities. And we also have a video that we're in the process of making right now. We're going to be covering, I think, the top 5 master plan communities in all of Central Florida, and it's going to go from Orlando all the way to the Space Coast. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have that video out for you guys soon. And we are going to talk more about Lake Nona, Viera, Sunbridge, Horizon West, since we're on the topic. Horizon West is huge. We're going to have a ton of content on that so you guys can really understand what's in Horizon West. And then the one that, again, we're really excited about is Sunbridge. That's just a massive community that's coming up. Tons of opportunity there. We're not going to go into more because we kind of already covered it, but subscribe. We'll get you the info on that. All right, so regardless of where, Orlando versus Melbourne, I think we can both agree that right now, new construction with incentives is where it's at. And you can find that in Orlando. You can find it in Melbourne. I would say we're seeing maybe more opportunity here in the Melbourne area than Orlando. There's still opportunities for that in the, I would say, outskirts of Orlando, not so much in Orange County. Right. But greater Orlando, you have that opportunity. But I would say Melbourne equals more value opportunity, and Orlando more variety.
More variety.
Yeah. More builders in Orlando. You've got probably 6 times the amount of builders to choose from in Orlando. We are seeing more builders come to Brevard County, though, which is really exciting. Taylor Morrison is going to start building here. We know Ryan Holmes just came in. So I think as things continue to progress, Pulte is now expanded outside of the Del Webb product here. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll see more builders in Brevard County as time progresses. So we talked about the vibe in Orlando versus Melbourne, and we even talked about the real estate in Orlando versus Melbourne. But let's get into what really draws people into these areas.
So let me kick it off with Orlando. We all know it's a world famous tourist destination.
Yes, you got Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, you've got iDrive, you've got all the attractions there. Right. So it's no question that people come to Orlando just to have that experience, and there's thousands of people that want to live right in that and have that at their fingertips every single day.
Think big energy with a whole lot of diversity.
I would say it's an entertainment capital, and there's always events there. There's concerts, there's everything comes to Orlando, and it's right there at your fingertips. You've also got a great job market and local economy overall. All right, so let's move east. Let's talk about Melbourne now. You got outdoor life, like we talked about. You've got the nature vibe, and it's just a coastal escape. So, and that's why I escaped Orlando. I wanted to be closer to the coast. So that for me was a big draw. It's a big draw for a lot of people as well. It's a slower pace compared to Orlando. So if you don't want to be in the crowds, and you want to slow down, that's a big draw to Melbourne as well. And the local economy and job market here has changed a lot. I mean, traditionally, it was a lot of tourism and kind of a lot of snowbirds. And really, the space industry has changed that in the past 10 years between manufacturing, defense, tech. The job market here has really changed. And I think it's permanent. I think it's really done a lot to solidify the economy here as well. So that's a big draw. And rockets. If you like rocket launches, there is 156 rocket launches that are planned for 2025, and I've heard that by 2026, it's probably supposed to double. So we're at the point now where we're seeing multiple launches a week, sometimes multiple launches a day. So I think...
Dude, I still remember being at your house and seeing your windows shake.
Yeah, it happens. So when they start launching these bigger rockets that are going to be 4 times the size of the rockets that they're launching now, like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, it's going to be noisy, the houses shake. It's going to be really interesting to see. I don't know what that's honestly going to do for property values. People think rocket launches are cool, but people don't want to live next to train tracks either. And maybe people won't want to live next to rocket launches.
We'll find out.
I don't know. Time will tell. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Would you want to have rocket launches in your backyard that you could see, hear, and feel? Or is that not your speed? Let us know down in the comments. But quick tape. I mean, I think they both offer great weather. And
it's cold for like maybe a week.
Yeah, and they both have a lot to do in context to what you like.
So ask yourself, what does your ideal day look like? What's your career path? And that'll help you make the decision.
And that's what you should use to help guide the final decision you make. And think Orlando, bold and busy, Melbourne, coastal and calm. So if you want to take a deeper dive into Orlando versus Melbourne to figure out which one is right for you, make sure you check out these videos right here. I'll see you there.